Good day, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations with Isa Favored, where we get to talk about life, we get to empower, we educate, and from time to time we try to make it a little bit light, but the sole purpose is really to empower us and to help us to make wise decisions in our everyday life. Now, it happens sometimes in life that as you go along with your life, you will have a child with somebody, either then through either divorce or death or any other reason or separation, that you find yourself as a single parent. And maybe you are still young, you're thinking to yourself, but I'm not done with the dating market. I still want to date. I still want to get married. You know, what happens then when you find yourself as a single parent and you've got to date? We have to then look at the needs and the interest of the child without neglecting the parent who then finds themselves single. And when you look at statistics, there was a research that was done by the Social Research Foundation, and it found that 4 out of 10 children, they come from single-headed families. Now that number it's quite concerning, because then it says in terms of the society, there's so many children who find themselves raised by one parent, but the interest is more on the children. We're saying, as we're thinking about the parent and their needs, let us not forget the children. So I have with me Usenzekile Shongwe, who is a senior mental health therapist at Panda Health, and she is a registered mental health facilitator. She has done a lot of keynote speaking as a mental health in a number of community and healthcare, as well as corporate platforms. I actually met her on a corporate platform. She has also been featured in a number of media platforms as a mental health spokesperson, as well as TV slots at Newsroom Africa, Ukhozi FM, Metro FM, Radio 702. You know, she also does a regular slot every Tuesday. You better make sure that you listen to Ukhozi FM every Tuesday at 8:45 in the morning. She discusses issues of mental health. She is affiliated as a counselor with organizations like Trauma Call, SADAC, Plum Health, Company Wellness, Kaelo, Panda. Oh, I'm running out of breath as I mentioned her profile, but yes. So she has, she qualifies to speak about these things. And when I met her, she was actually talking about, I think she loves children. She says adults sometimes we tend to focus so much on ourselves and forget about the children. So she is more interested and focused on saying, how do we take care of the mental health of children as parents? So welcome, Senzekile. Thank you for agreeing to be a guest on my show.
Thank you, Issa. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So we're going to talk single parenthood, those who are still in the dating market, who say, I still want to date. Now, we want to talk, let's just start by single parenthood and just unpack a bit. And I did highlight that it could be because you either separated and all that. And that on its own comes with its own challenges. So let's touch a bit on single parenthood, then we'll move on with our topic.
Yeah. So I think this is quite an important topic because, as you said, 4 out of 10 people are 4 out of 10 children come from single parents. And this is not only, and I know when we think about single parenting, we're thinking about mom and children, but it is also dads and their children as well. Sometimes you find that parents are single, but they are actually co-parenting and they call themselves single parents either way, because they are doing their duties as a parents on their own, and then the child gets the benefits of the other parent as well doing single parenting on their own. So the issue of single parenthood is so complex, and it is complex, yes, for the parents, because it is not easy to parent a child alone. It is not easy to not have the other parent living in the same house with you while you're parenting. And I mean, as a therapist, I speak a lot about how to make it easier for yourself, how to make it enjoyable for yourself. But I also think that the nature of a child and how a child is meant to be is actually being a part of a family that has got two parents. So even if there are other members of the family that are helping you, it doesn't change the fact that the other parent isn't there. So it's quite complex, it's quite stressful on the parent side, but also on the child side, moreover, because by virtue of the fact that they are a child, a lot of parents feel like children do not have much of a say. They do not have much of an opinion, and that we as parents, we are the leader of their lives, and we comprehend how their lives is going to turn out and how we're going to, make their lives better by the choices that we make. And in these conversations, Isa, I'm trying to say, listen to the children, get to understand what the children want, get to know how your children feel about you even thinking of dating, and when you're dating, how do they feel about the fact that you're dating? So involve them and speak to them instead of just thinking, I know what's best for my child, because chances are you don't know as much as you think you do.
But then, I don't know whether, maybe let's just start a bit on the parent. We're gonna get to the children because our interest is definitely on the child. But you know what happens, more especially in cases where either there are those that choose that I choose to be a single parent. I'm not interested in the other. But there are those that the single parenthood comes because there was a divorce or there was a death. So, and in those instances, the other partner had hopes, someone had hopes that this relationship or this marriage is going to last. So when it ends, I have my issues that I'm dealing with that I've bottled up. Sometimes even the dating, I'm not dating because I am ready to date, but I'm dating because I want to show partner that I can make it without you. How do we, as a single parent, mother or daddy, mommy or daddy, how do you make sure that your issues that you're dealing with do not rub off and affect the child? Let's start there before we get to the dating part. When a relationship ends, how does the parents, now that they are separated and whether they're going to co-parent or others, they hate each other like cats and dogs, how do you make sure that you heal or you take care of yourself so that your issues don't affect the child or children?
Isa, that is a brilliant question, and I love that question, especially in the beginning of this conversation. And I think one of the most important things is to be realistic. You have to firstly be realistic with understanding that when you break up with somebody or when somebody that you love passes away, anyhow, no matter how you get separated from that person, you have to understand that the journey will not be easy. There's a lot of emotional conflict, psychological conflict, physical conflict that you have to adjust to. Now, in you being realistic and understanding that this is going to be a difficult journey for you and that there's a lot of healing that has to be done, and in healing, there is a mess before the healing happens, then you're able to, digest that and say, okay, I'm about to go through it. I'm about to go through a difficult time. Now, I, as a parent, have to make a decision that I am going to protect my child. Now, the question is, what is a healthy way of protecting your child? Could it be that you are hiding, that you are undergoing conflict so that your child doesn't see it? Or do you become aware and sensitive as to how you manage your hurts and how you manage your adjustments, keeping in mind that a child is still a child and a child sees things, a child senses things. And I would say it is important that we are calmly and respectfully honest with our children. You have to acknowledge that you're going through a difficult time and express to your child that, you know what, my baby, I am going through a difficult time. This loss or this breakup is not easy, and I can understand that it is not easy on you as well. I am here for you. And I will try by all means to be the best that I possibly can as I'm going through this. Now, when time comes when you are seemingly depressed, or you're crying, or you become enraged, or you're angry, your child is able to link the two. They're not surprised.
Yes.
Why is mommy behaving like this? Or why is daddy behaving like this? They actually can link the two. And as a parent, you also have to come back and say, I'm sorry that I snapped at you. I was a bit frustrated, So you to be in conversation with your children, because children know things, children hear things, children sense things. If you communicate, whether you're communicating the truth or you're not as truthful as you'd like to be because you're trying to protect your child, the fact that you're communicating something, you're giving them something to work with, and that preserves their mental health. And that is what you want as a parent. And back to your point where you
Okay, I wanted to ask that, or maybe just to mention, to say the level of communication will also be age dependent. It will depend on the age of the child.
So that you don't give too much to the detriment of the child. Because I think sometimes when a person is hurting, they will end up talking too many things that or sometimes becoming too negative about either the mother or the father, forgetting that this parent is still the child's parent. You may have separated as partners, but they remain the child's parent.
Definitely. And yes, it is dependent on the age of the child, but no matter how old your child is, there is a way in which you have to communicate. What I'm saying is that you have to communicate your feelings. You have to communicate that you're not doing well. You have to communicate that you are struggling. That does not mean that you have to badmouth the other person. It does not mean, hence I said you have to communicate in a calm and respectful manner. When I say calm and respectful, I mean that you have to respect everybody that is in presence at that moment, meaning it's the other partner. You have to respect yourself. You have to respect the child. You have to respect your ex-in-laws if they exist. So the manner in which you communicate have to show a sense of calmness and a sense of respect for all parties involved, no matter how old your child is. And you have to be, and that's why I said, this, in some extent, as parents, we want to protect our kids. You have to be very selective as to what information are you giving. The information that I'm giving should be to create stability and understanding. It is not supposed to stress my child. It is not supposed to make them feel confused. It is definitely not supposed to make them feel like they should be taking sides. So you have to be very cautious as to how, when you express, and how and what you express as well.
Okay, all right. So you've done the communication, we've done the healing. I think me and you agreed that we're still gonna do a focus on single parenthood, ne? And we'll go deeper into the head and all that. So you've done that, you are at a point where now you are ready to date. How do you approach that?
And again, it's the foundation of it all. It starts from you thinking about it, right? I've met a lot of single people that just came out of committed relationships who would say to me, "I will never date again. I don't want to be with a woman. I don't want to be with a man. I just want to focus on my children." And I'm like, "Good for you." And you find that that's a 32-year-old lady who says this. I'm like, good for you. But you really don't know how you'd be feeling in the years to come. So being part of the dating scene does not happen when you meet the person. It happens when you start availing yourself to even having conversations with the other sex. It is you thinking about, oh, I would like to, have somebody, in my space comforting me or going out on dates. Now, the moment that thought comes and you're like, okay, I actually want to go back to the dating scene, depending on how old your child is and to what extent you can go with this conversation, ask them, how would you feel if mommy or daddy, started dating again? So you involve them in it. Even a 4-year-old can be involved in this conversation, but the mannerism and the language that you use would be different from how you would speak to a 16-year-old. With a 16-year-old, you can just, how would you feel if I had a girlfriend or if I had a boyfriend? Whereas with a 4-year-old, say, how would you feel if mommy had a male friend, you know, that they see often? So how it would be quite different, but they get it. They get that there will be another male or female figure that is seeing my mom in a romantic way or seeing my dad in a romantic way. So before that even have a conversation, so that when they see you speaking over the phone with somebody for hours on end, they're not shocked. They're like, okay, mom did ask me a question around how I would feel about it. You know, you'd even start hearing them say, mom, is that your new boyfriend? You know, because that conversation. Children know things, guys, and I think as parents we're so shy to speak about dating with our children, but they start talking about it from the age of 7 at primary school, you know, even at creche, so we have to have healthy conversations and be open about it. So to answer your question shortly, it is when you start thinking about it, open it up as part of the conversation. How would you feel if I started seeing somebody again? But you have to be cautious. How soon is it?
Okay.
You mentioned something very, very important when you did your intro. You said sometimes when we are hurt, we start dating so that the other person can see that we can do without them. Unfortunately, Issa, when you are a parent, you don't have that luxury.
It's not
there.
That luxury. Because, and I was speaking to a colleague of mine just yesterday about the very same thing. And she was saying to me that, you know, when I think about dating, I don't think about just me. I think about dating, and I think about the person that I'm dating and how they would be compatible with my daughter.
So it's not just your compatibility. It's now there's other people, there's a child or there's children that I need to take into consideration.
You see, so you don't have the luxury to go from one relationship to the other, from one relationship to the other, because it's quite confusing for the child, and more even confusing for you. When you look at somebody and you see them and you're interested in them, you should say, okay, that person would actually be good for me and later in life for my daughter. And even if, you know, we don't want to introduce people to our kids at an early stage, but our relationship affect us a lot. If you date the wrong person, they will stress you out. How will they trust you as a parent? Because you want to be with somebody that loves you, that cares for you, so that you can continue being the happy parent that you want to be to your children. So who you date, and because when you date, there's a spiritual you know, a transference that happens. How does that affect home where you live with your child and where you are a parent? You also have to make decisions around, do I want to date somebody else that has their own children? Or maybe if you're divorced, do I also want somebody that is divorced? So you have to have that category before you start even going out.
Mentally, that is still you deciding all by yourself to say, what exactly am I looking for? And I take it that for you to get to that level where you can have such thoughts and discussions in your head, you must have healed. Because when you have not healed, you will not be able to go through all that filtering process and know exactly what is it that you want.
Yeah. And I like that you bring up the subject of healing, because it's quite a complex subject. Some people believe that they heal through rebound relationships, which never works. But a lot of people, it's the easier way out. But I always say, if you take the easier route, you always come back to your starting point, right? So how do I know that I've healed is the question. And it's a question that a lot of people do not know how to answer, you know. And in order for you to heal, you have to be complete, you have to be happy, you have to be the best version of yourself as a single person, without feeling the need, and I'm not saying the want, I'm saying the need, without feeling the need to have a companion in a romantic form, right? That is when, okay, I might be ready to now include somebody in this life that I've built and I'm happy about, that is the life of my own. If you haven't gotten to a point, if the bitterness hasn't subsided, or you still feel angry, if you feel like you still hate the other person, if you feel like you hate men or you hate women, and you just have this anger, and of course you haven't healed, because whoever that comes into your life, you would blame them, then they will suffer for the sins of the other person, or you would try so hard not to make the very same mistakes that you did in the other relationship. Now, when you heal, it is a clean slate. You have forgiven the person, you have forgiven yourself. You are happy with the life that you've built outside of that relationship, and you are complete. You are free, and you are able to actually speak about your ex without feeling a sense of hurt or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
And as a parent, again, you do not have the luxury to move on to another relationship unless you have healed.
I love, yes, because when you said some people believe that they can heal through a rebound relationship, the reality is, I'll use your words, that you do not have that luxury. Because that, and you mentioned something earlier on when you were saying the kind of relationship that we have, when we spoke about the transference and all that, the reality also is that when you are happy, or when a relationship is sour, when you're in a relationship and it's not going well, the people who tends to suffer the most are the children, because you need an outlet for your pain, and you get home, you're shouting, and then they end up suffering for something that they do not know. So you need to be sure, and you need to make sure that the partner that you go for does not cause you unnecessary stress that you are going to take onto the children. So I'd say it's not like you must rush to actually saying, I am now in a relationship with this person, but rather get to know the person so that you understand the kind of person that they are. And you before you jump to say, oh, I'm going in heart and soul and everything, feet, leg, head, you can't even find me, I'm swimming in this relationship.
Exactly. And just to add on that, I mean, Isa, this is life, right? We can never be able to predict whether a person is going to disappoint us or they won't disappoint us.
Yes.
But we need to take our time. You don't just jump into a relationship and then a month later you are head over heels in love with this person. You want to marry this person and your whole life belongs to them. You actually have to take it so slow that the relationship grows naturally on its own. And the foundation of the relationship should be the element of friendship that has to mature, right? Because within the foundation of friendship, you actually can get to know the person well. And then once that has matured, then you can awaken the romantic feelings. Then you can then pause again and allow that to evolve on its own and to mature on its own. And if that person struggles to be patient through that process, then they won't be patient with your child. I promise you, they will not. They will not be patient with your role as a parent. They will not be patient with all of the intricacies that come with you being a parent and being in a relationship, even if they are a parent on their own. So look at how slow are you able to maneuver around this relationship, and how well can they dance with you in the slow dance while you're trying to mature and evolve in this relationship. You will know once it has evolved enough for you to say, yes, now I can introduce you to my child. And everything in you will say yes. If there is any doubt, then it is not time yet.
Okay, Senze, I love, what you were saying, to say, allow the relationship to mature, allow it to start, and I believe that you can only allow that when you have healed, because I was saying the other day that somehow men have this thing of thinking that if they say I love you, it automatically must now jump and suddenly be. Now, when you have not healed, when they say I love you, because you said you must be whole, you must be happy on your own. But when you have not healed, when somebody comes and says I love you, you jump into that. You are not thinking. You do not think, you do not pause, you just run with the words I love you, and they love bomb you, and before you know it, you've introduced them, and voila, it's not what you actually want. So I love when you say, whether men or women, you must just allow yourself and allow the relationship to mature. Let it have a good foundation, and dance to the same tune, dance in the same pace together until you know that this is what we both want. And I know that sometimes then you hear stories of people say, no, 3 months we met and in 3 months we were married, da 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 da. Well, I guess it's one out of I don't know how many of those that become successful, but real relationship will take time to mature.
It will take time, and love bombing is a big thing. So just with what you mentioned regarding love bombing, I think that is what I normally say is one of the biggest red flags when you are more matured and you're starting a relationship and you are a single parent. Because if you are hurt and you haven't healed, love bombing is so soothing. Gaslighting is so soothing because this person calls you 5 times a day. This person sends you WhatsApp messages. You see each other every day or even 2 times a day. It keeps you occupied in that you don't get enough time to heal from your past relationship because your emotions and your psyche and your physique is so invested now into this person, but you don't get to know each other well because all you're doing is, just operating on lust and infatuation. And it's so quick, but it is called lust and infatuation because it's not supposed to last. It's not gonna last, it's very short-lived. And once that dies out, and then you now have to get to know this person. If you make the mistake of committing, then you get married, then or you introduce your children to that person, then when you now get to know them and you don't like what you actually see and you don't like, what you discover, then you find that you become hurt again.
It's too late.
It's too late. Now you have to deal with 2 hurts, that you don't deal with. And then you're thinking, okay, I was able to cope when I had that love bomb. Let me move on to the next person. Now you're in the cycle. You end up becoming, your mental health becomes affected. Your parenting styles become affected. You become a very frustrated parent because you never and you keep jumping from one relationship to the other because you're looking for that infatuation, for that lust and that love bombing.
Yeah. So it is then, what we're taking out is that it is important to allow yourself to, I think we will keep on going back to say, allow yourself to heal so that you can be able to have a proper relationship. Now, what I wanted to ask earlier on, you were saying you test the waters through the conversations with the children, asking them, how would you feel if mommy had a friend or daddy had a friend? Or now, if the children are really against it, what do you do? Yeah.
And again, depending on how soon it is, that's why we need to take time, because they also, remember, it's not just you that's healing, they have to heal as well.
Yeah.
Are you sure they have healed? And what efforts have you made to help them in the healing process, right? Are you talking about it? What are some of the, what are you doing to make sure that your children get to heal from the loss of the relationship that you had with the other parent?
Yes.
And if they haven't healed, of course, they will not want you to be in another relationship. They don't understand, because to them, it's almost like you're replacing my mom or you're replacing my dad. And I want my parent to be with you. I want my parents to be together. So yes, you have to, before you even introduce that, before you even ask them that, ask yourself, have I done enough to help my children to go through their own healing process? What efforts have I made? And if you feel like, okay, I've made enough efforts and I can see that, they've healed, and mostly I can see that they have accepted that it is over between me and their other parent, then I can ask this question. And chances are they'll say yes, but there is a small chance that they will still say, nope, I don't want you to date. I do not see you dating, another person, especially if the other parent has died. For them, if the other parent died and now they're going through grief, it almost feels like a betrayal, that my dad passed away, or mom passed away. Now you want to move on. I thought that he was the love of your life, or she was the love of your life. So those possibilities are very, very normal, and you have to welcome those. You have to accept that as them saying to you that they are not ready.
We are
to
still
sit with you.
dealing with the
We
grief.
still
We're
Yeah.
still grieving.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you have to start having conversations. So let's say, for example, you ask them, how would you feel if I had a boyfriend, and I'm your mom, and they say, I wouldn't like that. Introspect further, ask them, why wouldn't you like for me to have a partner? Do you understand what it would mean for me to have, another partner? Do you understand what it would mean to you, if I had another partner? Because chances are they're saying no out of fear. They're saying no out of, the fact that they don't understand what that entails, because just because I have another partner that is not your father, it doesn't mean that person automatically becomes your father.
Yes.
That is something that you have to into the plate as well. And you can only get that when you ask them, what do you think it means to you if I have a partner? And if they say it looks as though maybe you're going to replace my dad, say that is not the case. Try to explain to them. A lot of resistance comes from the fact that they don't understand, and you have to be, and you have to try to have casual and formal conversations, but mostly try to understand it from their part. The day they meet this person, and the day they see you with this person, they have to feel like, I have a role to play in these two being together.
Together. So the person was not imposed on them.
Yes, exactly. I was part and parcel. It could take you 3 years. It can take you 2 months. It can take you 5 years. But what is most important is how your children feel about it.
You are an advocate for the children, Shemias. You are such an advocate, because I'm thinking, now, like you said, can take 3 years. You can imagine when the person is ready, like, I am so ready to date. I am so ready. Now, these children are telling me stories that they are. I remember when I had the conversation with my boys, one of my boys was like, Mama, you are old. Do you still want to date? I'm like, what is old when according to you? Because they're like, do you still? No, you must just live your life. You've got your friends. You must just live your life and forget about dating. And I'm like, forget about dating. You guys are growing up. You are older. You're going to have your lives. But, those are the conversations that you need to have. And of course, as I say, age appropriate, then you'll have the different kinds of those conversations.
Sorry, can we just use that as an example? You made a valid, and depending on how you say it, it matters how it comes across. They're saying, Mama, you are old. You're supposed to just live your life and be with your friends. You then come to say that you are growing. I spent, my life raising you guys, but you're growing. You're going to have your own wives. You're going to move out of the house. And then I am going to be alone. So what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to have a companion of my own, so that when you are out of the house and you have got your own lives, I don't feel lonely. In that you are being transparent. You are being honest. And now they're going to start to think, oh, but what Mom is saying is true. When we leave here, who is she going to be left with? But if you say to them, hi, Nina, you guys, you're crazy. What do you expect me to do with my life? It sounds as though you're not listening to them. I keep saying respect and manner of approach is so important when it comes to children. And I know that, a lot of parents still do not get this. They feel like children seem to be very entitled. But if you treat your children with respect, I promise you, they will be able to respect you too. The foundation will be respect. But obviously, if you want to start that and they're 21, it might be difficult for you. But if your foundation is that the way I speak to them, it really, really lends very, very differently.
No, no, no. It's very true. I guess, and we will, we have that kind, because then, yes, a couple of years later, sometime last year, the one comes like, "Can I ask a question, ma'am?" Like, "Yeah." "Are you seeing someone?" I'm like, "Why are you asking me? Am I seeing them?" Like, "No, I'm just interested. I don't see, I'm not sure what's happening. I don't see whether, are you seeing someone?" I'm like, "No," I'm like, "No, no, 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 I'm not seeing someone." It's like, "Oh, why?" I'm like, "No." So you create a platform to have those kinds of conversation, because to me, it was saying he is ready for whatever that may come. That is why he is the one now who's coming and saying, "Are you?" And all that, because mine, of course, he was 24 at the time when we had that, so he's not a child as much as he's still in the house, but we can have those kind of conversations. So, but not to shut them out and say, "I am the adult, this is my life, forget about it, I am gonna do what makes me happy and forget about you." But you've got to be considerate. Now, when it happens that you've gone through the process, they are at ease and they are all that, then you are with this person, is there a right time to say, "Meet the children"?
Love that question. The right time is when your children are ready to meet him. Remember, you don't pose, right? Your children have been part of this process, even if they haven't met him. They have been part of this. They were part of you even thinking about getting into the dating scene. They were part of the journey when you started seeing someone, even though you didn't tell them at first, right? When you started being a bit sure of this, they started seeing that, okay, mama is dating somebody, and you start to say to them, "I am seeing somebody, we are going out on dates, and when the time is right, you will meet them," and then as the relationship progresses, they'll start to see maybe he drops you off or he fetches you, but they haven't really met. And then you ask them, when the both of you feel that, okay, now it's time for you to meet my children, ask your children first. Don't come and say, "I want you to meet Obabu Zbanban." Say to them, "Would you like to meet him? Do you feel like you are ready to meet him?" And have that conversation. It's like premarital counseling because they are getting now, by them being introduced to this person, trust me, they are now getting involved in your partner, right? And ask them, how would you like to meet him? Some children would say to me, maybe we are having a family session, they would say, "I don't want us to sit like in a dinner table and it's formal. I just maybe want to see him. Maybe there's an event and then I say hi and then I move on. And then when we're ready, we can have a formal event." So that is introducing them just a little bit. Or when he fetches you, for him to just say hi and then they say hi, at least they've seen him. But you can also get to know that once you've had a conversation with them, right? And if you can say, "Mommy, we're happy for you, but we're not yet ready to meet him," then you go back to the partner and say that, they're not quite ready as yet. Maybe let's push for a couple of months and then we'll revisit the conversation. But also ask them to tell you once they feel ready, and they will see. Trust me, they will see how this person plays a huge role in your life.
In your
They'll
life,
see how
yes.
they'll see when you guys go out to events. They will see when, the things that you do together. It's like, look at it this way. I think it's funny when I put it this way, but look at it from the perspective of when you were a child to your own parents and you started dating as a teenager. You didn't outright tell your parents that, "Mom, I've got a boyfriend."
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You now start to do the very same process with now your children. So even if your parents say, "Isa, stay away from boys, you're not supposed to date," it does not necessarily mean that you won't be seeing boys, but you just
Yes, yes,
yes.
and then once you get older, you're like, "I sing him Dalaman. I want my parents to see," maybe I'm 25 now. "I want my parents to see that, I'm interested in dating." Then you start to say, "Yes, my a boy at work," or so how we did it traditionally back then with our parents is almost like the same process that you now have to go through
with your children. I love how you put and naturally, okay, for women in their 40s and 50s, because we were raised by very strict parents, the natural says, Hypo, now I have become a child in my own children. I must act like when, you know how we are, most, you know, I'm sure you've heard our stories, you know how we are. So it then, but when we get to understand the way you put it, to say you want to make sure that they warm up to the idea, they are ready to because you also, they are also, remember, I think also whatever separation, whether it was separation or death, it also hurt them when the two of you separated. They don't want to go through the same again. So they are also trying to protect themselves from the pain that you went through and they also went through.
Yeah. And that is why it's so important to be vulnerable to your children. You know, I'm not saying cry a river in front of them, but exactly what you just said to them, that I understand that, you know, when we broke up, me and your father, it was a difficult thing for you to go through. You know, I'm still dealing with it as well. And I can imagine how much you are dealing with. So I'm here if you need to talk. And you know, we are going through this as a family.
Yeah.
So that even with this new thing, you introduce it by even saying that I know that you might experience some fears that what we went through might happen again, you know, but let's take the leap of faith. So you just also being vulnerable, and in you being vulnerable as the mother or as the father, you automatically allow them to be vulnerable to you.
Yes. Okay, no, I like that. I think I like that because it just says we are journeying together as a family. We are taking this journey together because ultimately, if things work out, this person is going to be a part of our lives. And if they are going to be a part of our lives, let's don't just wake up one day and boom, you're imposing somebody to them that they were just never ready for that person.
Exactly.
Okay.
And age is a big factor, you know. If they are older, it's harder. If they're younger, let's say you break up with the mother of your child and the child is 2 years old, it's easier to introduce somebody else to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, and because go with that person, especially if it's the right person. But when they're 14, they are 24, it's harder because they know their father and they're very comfortable with the relationship that they for their, well, that is if they know their father. They're very comfortable with the relationship that they have with their dad. Who you date is your business. Yes, he's going to be a part of our family, but that person doesn't mean that he's going to be our father, because we have our father that we are comfortable with. So the dynamics are going to be different as well. And that is something that I need all parents to be cautious of, to say, what role is my partner going to be playing here? You know, is this person going to take over the parenting role? Is this person going to be my partner and their friend? Is this person going to be uncle's banbani? What role do I want my partner to play in my children's life? Hence the question of, when I start dating, what do you think it means to you?
I think I wanted to say also that then what it says with that question that you're asking, you also cannot then expect the children, irrespective of the age, to suddenly call him ubaba. Uyabona? He's your boyfriend, he's your lover, he's all that. It will take them time. I guess they will find their own rhythm as to what exactly do they end up settling calling him. But do not be, your partner must also understand whether umama or what, that you're not going to impose on the child that now they must call this one mommy. If they feel like calling them auntie, it's okay until they are comfortable with the right rhythm of what they will call him.
Exactly. In our tradition, we call stepmom umamngane, and then we call stepdad ubabomngane, right? Which that this person is playing a mother figure, but it's not your mom, right? It's your father's person, right?
Yes.
And what we normally see is that when the relationship is well and they get to gel together, you find that children start calling this mamngane mama automatically.
Automatically.
Automatically, you know, it builds itself, you know. But when you say introducing them and say umamncane wenu lo, umamncane lo, you're giving this person a title, but you're not saying umama. You're giving this person a title so they actually know what to call this person. But relationship evolves, they will start saying mama. They will even forget to go, oh, this is umamncane. But if you force them to call this person umama and they don't know this person, you are actually creating more harm than good.
I'm actually thinking right now that I think that it gets even more complicated if both parties have children and the one set of children, I'll call them set child or children, are more open to receiving than the other. Because then it needs maturity on both partners. Because if the other one will then suddenly say, but I've already introduced you to mine and mine have, why are yours not ready? That alone becomes then a problem to say, hey, Pelangsho, they are not a button, we're not going to press a button and suddenly they jump and they are ready, you know?
Because it's not just the both of you dealing with other human beings as well, right? This is probably the one word that I say most in my career: communication. I probably say this every day, all day, because you have to, your partner needs to know where your children are as well, you know. And unfortunately, he has to be understanding, or she has to be understanding. And the other party has to come with an open mind, because it's not just the two of you.
Yes.
Dating when you have children is not easy. It is difficult.
It's not.
Being a single parent is not easy. It is difficult. It's a difficult journey. And the one thing that really, really makes it a success is to be transparent. It is to be vulnerable. It is to be selfless. You have to be very selfless, pertaining your partner, pertaining the children, pertaining his children, her children, and you have to communicate. And to a fault, you have to over communicate, but do so calmly and selflessly.
And selflessly. Ha! Thank you, Sensei. I don't know. Have we left out something in terms of the children? We've agreed, me and you, that we're gonna come back and talk single the challenges of being a single parent without bringing dating in the mix, because it comes with its own challenges. But is there anything else that you would have loved, you know, because of your experience, that you feel we have not touched on, but it is critical that our viewers will need to know?
No, I think we've touched on all of the complexities, especially if this conversation is the foundation of the conversation. I think we touched on all of them. Maybe when you end this, just please mention that this was the foundation of the conversation, and we're going to have another conversation where we look at the difficulties of single parenting children of different ages, because that is what I like to speak about, because who you parent, depending on their age, is very, very hard.
We've agreed that we're definitely going to have, this is the beginning of a series of other conversations that are going to follow. So thank you so much for availing yourself for this conversation. I believe that people are going to take something out of this, more especially, I'm not sure about men. I'm going to talk about women because I'm a woman. I will not know about men. But to say that don't get too carried away, girls. Don't get too carried away. Usenzegile has said that if you are a single parent, there's certain things, the luxury of those are taken away from you. So make sure that as you navigate or you get ready, or as if you're already in the dating scene, do take into consideration that there's other people. It's not just about you. So find a balance so that your children don't end up also resenting you or resenting your partner because you did not manage or handle things well. Thank you, Senzekile, for agreeing to be a guest. We are definitely coming back, me and you. We'll talk more about these things as we make sure that we educate, and thank you for being an advocate for children. Sometimes I know. Sometimes they may not have a voice, but you are raising the things that sometimes we may not be, not necessarily ignoring, but we may not be tuned to as parents, but it will help us just to manage and navigate the relationship with our children better. So thank you so much for watching, viewers at home. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do make sure that you subscribe to the channel, Intimate Conversations with Isa Favored. And until next time, do take care.